Well, the pandemic has caused a lot of issues for many families financially, including right here in the Toledo area. This morning, we want to talk to one person who's trying to change that, Wendy Pestrue from the United Way of Greater Toledo. Wendy, good morning. How are you doing?
Oh, good morning, Michelle. It's great to see you and doing well. Thank you.
Great. Wendy, so many families have been hit hard by the pandemic. A lot of fragile financial situations before the pandemic. Then a lot of industries closed down for a while. But more importantly, the workers that were working in these industries were hit hard.
Yes, they were. And, we just recently got some research that is done through United Way called ALICE. And what ALICE stands for is Asset Limited Income Constrained Employed. And when you think about asset limited, these are folks, it's about 25% of the population in Ohio before the pandemic that worked in food service, a lot of service related industries. They were hourly workers. These are the folks who typically don't have a great health care insurance at work and other sorts of benefits. So if you can imagine, if we had 25% of the population living in this space and those jobs have gone away and they're really trying to look at how to survive, this is where we've badly needed a lot of folks to help and step in with food distribution services, hygiene products, things like that. And then I think, because this group existed at such a high level before, what we do and what we learn during this pandemic to make their lives better in the future will be something that's very important to study.
Wendy, thanks so much. And when you talk about ALICE, it's so important to note there's such a widening gap between some of the wages and the costs for living that continually seem to be going up.
Yes, and the basic needs actually cost a lot more. And I think a lot of people can relate to during the pandemic how the price of food got a lot more expensive. Well, that's actually, been happening for folks as very basic needs, getting more expensive over time. And then when you do live at this wage level, it becomes much more difficult to accrue wealth, when we talk about assets, to have a savings account. These are folks who, and now we'll see more of it, that are just one day away from one disaster, like a healthcare problem, even getting your car repaired, and then you can't get to work. I mean, you think about the trickle down effect when you don't have $400 set aside for some of these things, which most of these families don't. So when we're looking at overall in our state, 39% of the folks living like this before the pandemic and this very constrained space, it's just going to be a lot tougher now.
Right, that's a good point. I mean, how can you save at in a situation like that, especially if you have a family, you're watching out for those types of bills and stuff? It's a tough situation.
And Michelle, a lot of these folks are the ones who rely on daycare to go to work. They're, maybe even living in the essential worker space. And the thing that's tough is childcare right now with pandemic licensing has been impacted greatly. There are fewer slots and they're very expensive. So folks who may want to go to work and they don't have childcare are really limited. And they talk a lot about how women especially, but families are affected by this drastically and will be for a while potentially.
That's a really good point. I think of a lot of single moms right now that I even know of trying to make ends meet during this pandemic.
Yep, it's a serious problem.
Yeah. And Wendy, how can we help? I think that's a question many people are asking. A lot of people want to try to give back or do something to help out because this is such a tough time.
Well, of course, at United Way, a few ways that a person can always step in. It is, we do obviously take financial donations. And then at United Way, we carefully research the organizations that are having the best impact to support these families in a tough time. We've done everything from whether it's food distribution to help putting people in touch with mental health counseling. Our 211 services are always there for families in need. So making a financial contribution to United Way so that we can plug it into the right spaces, but also go to our website and look at volunteer opportunities. We have some that are in person. We also have some that are virtual. The in-person ones are very safe. We work hard for social distancing, PPE, sanitizing the space, that sort of thing. But there's always a way to step in and try to help these families. And then advocacy, advocating, working with your legislators, writing letters and that sort of thing for these important packages that create financial support.
Wendy, thank you so much. I think it's really important to note here, a little bit of effort can go a long way.
Yeah, thank you so much. Yes, it's very true.
I really appreciate you being on here this morning with such an important topic. Have a great Saturday.
You too. Thank you so much. Take care.
Of course.